G'day there guys, it's your main man Marky, and welcome back to another episode of r/relationship advice. I do hope you enjoyed today's bloody good stories, and with that said, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn to the barbie. Let's get right into it. Cheers.
Am I the asshole here for refusing to help my brother after his ex-girlfriend scammed him out of nearly half of the equity of his house? I, 37 female, have an older brother George, 45 male, who isn't an idiot, but he can be lazy. Definitely the type to rely on weaponized incompetence whenever women and girls are around. For example, he literally acted like he didn't know where our mum kept the paper plates in the house that he lived in for nearly 20 years, just so that she would get up, go into the kitchen, and make him his plate during the holidays, just 1 week post her bunion surgery. Side note, they both tried to passively-aggressively make me feel guilty for not offering to fix my adult brothers so our mum wouldn't have to do it. Like I wasn't the only one doing the most of the cooking and would be doing most of the cleaning afterwards. At age 30, George was given a windfall from our grandfather's estate. I got something too, and used it as a down payment for a nice 5-bedroom house, and that easily is worth double now. During this time, he met Melinda, 50 female, and she was a nice lady. She's smart, responsible, hardworking, sweet, and very organized. She came into the relationship with a steady job and was upfront about a lack of ability to have more children after complications from nearly losing her life giving birth to her daughter. George stated that he was okay with that, but whenever Melinda would bring up his hesitation regarding marriage, he would say that he had complicated feelings about not being able to be a father if he chose to fully commit to her that he needed to process, saying that since he was willing to overlook her fertility issues because he loved her, that she needed to show her love by waiting for him. That line worked for 12 years. After Melinda moved in, George demanded that she pay half the bills and part of his mortgage in exchange for allowing Melinda's daughter to move in with her. At the time, Melinda had little options as her former landlord was raising the rent too high and she was helping pay for her sister's medical bills. Melinda and George justified this to everyone by saying what she would have paid to George was still cheaper in rent at her old place. I said nothing because not my relationship. 2 years ago, George was caught cheating and Melinda was furious and then left. I don't know all the details, but she came back seeming to work things out. Didn't stop George from cheating, but Melinda shrugged and said that this was still a better deal, and so long as he kept it from the house, she coped. Recently, there was some type of damage to George's house and he needed people to come and fix it. But he hated the labor of searching for a reliable contractor, taking time away from his job and hobbies to deal with them, and the paperwork. Melinda offered to do it, and he didn't question it. Whatever she gave, he signed, and in front of third-party witnesses as well. Melinda got George to sign paperwork stating that she was entitled to 45% of his house. Now she's dumped him and demanding that George either sell his house or buy her out. George is trying to fight this, citing that he didn't fully understand what he was agreeing to, and he's found a lawyer willing to take his case, but his fees are expensive. George and our mum think that I should help, but I'm refusing. I don't see why I should have to shell out thousands to save another grown man from his own lack of foresight, especially when there's a good chance that he won't even win. I'm being called heartless and a bad sister. So I have to ask, am I the asshole here? In the comments, Witty D says, not the asshole. George had it coming. Stringing that woman along for years, manipulating her by making her feel guilty over not being able to have more children, having her pay half the mortgage for his house, and then cheating on her? He made the bed. Let him lay in it. Not the asshole, but who is expecting to have more kids with a 50-year-old? For me, it sounds more like he was looking for an excuse to play victim since the beginning of the relationship. By the way, I'm not the youngest woman, and I think this question is important. OP replies, she was in her 40s when they got together, but I agree. He was just using that as an excuse. My judgment, not the asshole. Brother absolutely is. How long did he manipulate this woman for? Over a decade? Cheating on her multiple times? And then signing legal documents with witnesses without even reading them. Genuinely, what an idiot. Like, yes, you should be able to trust your partner, but you manipulate and double-cross her that many times. Do you really think she's not going to pull some shit on you? That's his arrogance catching up to him. He thought he could just skate on by in life unscathed. Mate, you're 45, not 15. If you can buy a house, you can understand paperwork. OP, you don't owe that man shit. You should not bail him out with your savings or allow him to stress you out in any capacity because he refuses to take responsibility for his actions. Sounds like it's time for him to learn from the consequences that he's spent so long dodging. Karma, in a way, is catching up to him and he absolutely deserves it. Again, not the asshole. And now, onto the update. Okay, so there's been an update, and I have to say, while I still don't think that my brother is an idiot, overall, he is a lazy and very arrogant idiot. I also want to clarify a few things as well. Melinda and my brother were in a relationship for 12 years, but they've only been living together for the past 9 to 10 years. Also, the documents were signed in the presence of a notary who asked my brother if he understood the context of the documents, and he affirmed that he did. And to the person who said that my brother was house poor, you hit the nail on the hammer. My brother spent the majority of his inheritance and savings on buying that house, and it barely had any furniture in it. When Melinda moved in, she paid to have it furnished on top of splitting the utilities and paying rent. Now on to the new stuff. When my brother's house needed fixing, he let Melinda do the grunt work of finding reputable establishments to consider because he didn't want to be bothered. Melinda presented him with up to 3 options and convinced him to go with Company A, not real name, because they were offering seasonal discounts for first-time customers and/or new owners for specific items. Melinda's plan to get them both discounts was to present it as if she recently became the partial owner and had my brother email Company A to see if they'd be willing to accept that. Company A responded that if Melinda recently became part owner of the house, then they'd be willing to give a partial discount as a courtesy. Company A was a small business, but with an excellent reputation in terms of service, quality of work, and meeting deadlines. So my brother was all in. What my brother didn't realize was that Company A went by the honor system when it came to Melinda and my brother's case, but on their website, it did say proper documentation needed to be shown, so Melinda told my brother that she would come up with fake documents so that he could sign in the presence of a notary that she knew through a friend who was supposed to be in on the scam. They weren't, but that's what she told my brother. The actual signing was at their house in front of the notary and 2 people from Company A who were initially there to survey the area. So basically, my brother thought that he and Melinda were scamming Company A, when in reality, Melinda was scamming him. He thought the documents he was signing were fake, but they were real, and that's his defense. This is why he had trouble finding a lawyer. Wouldn't blame anyone here who thought that this was fake, because what the hell? So anyway, I'm not going to give him the money, but I will give him a list of realtors. In the comments, Clean Permit says, so his defense is, I thought we were scamming a company, but really she was scamming me, Your Honor? Yeah, I think it's best to stay out of this one. OP says, I almost peed myself when I laughed. I mean, I don't think 12 years of putting up with your brother equals a scam when she gets equity in the house that she probably paid a bunch of shit for. It sounds like your brother is having the day he deserves. Still not the asshole. Yeah, they were together for 12 years and she paid to furnish his home. Even if she lied about that paperwork to sneakily get her name on the deed, at the end of the day, she's not profiting any extra than in her legitimate position as a long-term partner, getting the half that she is rightfully owed. Did she actually put in the brunt of the work? Is there a chance that you're getting things spun to make this seem more predatory on her part? 10 years is a long time to live together and have her give up any possible financial equity or sweat equity poured into a home. Yeah, it doesn't sound like she scammed her way into the equity at all. She was living there and was paying for a lot of what went into it, including repairs and furnishing. She's not scamming him. She's trying to get what she put into it back out now that she's realized what a tool he is and probably wants to get away from him for good. Damn, that's a wild update, OP. Your brother played himself absolutely in this one. That is some poetic justice if I ever saw it. In terms of fairness, I think she absolutely deserves that half. She did it through, unfair means, but at the end of the day, I don't know why he'd expect anything different. That was like an incredibly convoluted scheme that their outcome of scamming Company A is like incredibly unlikely. He's just an idiot and he deserves to have this happen to him. So yeah, give him that realtor list and tell him that not wanting to be bothered to do anything can get pretty expensive. This is a hard lesson learned for him. Our next post is by user Neat Ladder, and it's titled, "Am I the asshole for describing my mother-in-law's birthday cake as kinda gay? I don't even know where to begin. So I'm 27 female, married to 28 female. Yes, we are lesbians. We've known each other for 7 years and have been married for 4. We were each other's first kiss, first love, first everything. I will call my lovely wife Emma from here on out for clarity. My mother-in-law has always been vocal about her dislike for me and the fact that Emma married a woman. She was initially supportive when Emma came out, but I think she was hoping that Emma would suddenly turn straight and decide to marry a man, reverting back to the God-fearing housewife state. When Emma and I first started dating, she would make subtle digs about how I wasn't good enough for Emma, but the neighbor's kid Brandon sure was. When mother-in-law realized we were getting serious, she tried to sabotage our relationship by accusing me of cheating, being after their inheritance, being a psychopath because I have chronic social anxiety, and other completely outrageous things. We were pretty fed up with her at that point, and since we both had jobs set up for us, Emma and I moved in together in a city about 100 miles away from mother-in-law. Since we got a lot closer during that time, I guess I have mother-in-law to thank for accelerating my relationship with my love. Mother-in-law wasn't invited to our wedding because she threatened to make a scene and bring her own groom for Emma. I highly doubt that she would have, but we didn't want to chance ruining our day. So here's the current situation, and where I may be the asshole. Emma and I went to mother-in-law's birthday party yesterday. We only visit her once a year for Emma's sake. We bought her some nice crystal wine glasses as a present. She was making snide comments about our relationship. Everything was going as expected. Mother-in-law's boyfriend brought out her cake, which is a chocolate cake covered in pastel rainbow flowers. I commented to Emma, perhaps a bit too loudly, "Rainbow cake is looking kinda gay. Maybe she's finally coming around." And mother-in-law absolutely blew up. She was screaming at us that it was disgraceful that I said she was gay and that we even wore our wedding rings to her party when we knew that she didn't like to see them. She was yelling at Emma that she shouldn't have brought me because I'm a disgusting reminder that Emma isn't right in the head. Emma was fuming and close to tears, so we left immediately after. Emma said she doesn't blame me at all and no longer wants contact with her mother. Emma's cousins, grandparents, and uncle are blowing up our phones, saying that what I said was wrong and disrespectful, and that we are horrible people. Especially since mother-in-law has high blood pressure issues, and I was just trying to aggravate her. I was trying to aggravate her, and I don't feel bad for what I did. But I feel awful that I made mother-in-law say those horrible things to my wife, and that Emma is currently no contact with her mother, who she was quite close to before we were married. In the comments, not the asshole. You didn't make your mother-in-law say those things. She said them by herself, and you two are better off without her. And OP says, that was my gut feeling, but my wife's whole family has been harassing us non-stop since yesterday, and I'm feeling kind of frazzled. Wow. Her mom is super strongly invested into the hate, and her whole family, it seems, as well. Not the asshole. As all that comment was commenting that maybe her mom was accepting of her daughter. OP replies, the weird thing is, 10 years ago when my wife came out to my mother-in-law, she was super supportive and accepting. But once my wife started dating girls, things kinda went downhill from there. So mother-in-law can mentally and emotionally abuse Emma, but you can't joke about a cake? Wonderful in-laws. Not the asshole. It seems like no one in that family can handle you and your wife are happy and gay. OP says, yeah, I really was not expecting that harsh of a response from mother-in-law. I wanted to annoy her since she'd been rudely commenting about my wife and I all day, but I wasn't expecting her to completely explode. Not the asshole. If it wasn't the rainbow cake comment, then it would have been something else eventually. I feel for your wife though. I'm sure this is difficult for her. OP says, after reading through these comments, it does look like she was just trying to pick a fight. She always does this, picking apart what we wear and how we show off our wedding bands. My wife and I deliberately refrain from any affection apart from holding hands in her presence. I'm glad my wife was able to cut her off finally. Edit. In case anyone wanted to know what the cake looked like, I unfortunately did not get a photo. I did, however, find similar-looking floral cakes from this company, but mother-in-law's had pastel rainbow flowers on the top and pastel stripes on the sides. And there you go. Something similar to these cakes, guys. I think that is so sad that she has conditioned you two to not even show affection to each other in public because of her outburst and reaction. Even to the point she's like, I don't even want you guys wearing your wedding rings in public. Do you know how pissed off that makes me? You are absolutely not the asshole here, OP. That one light-hearted jab you made, that was nothing compared to the years of digs and cruelty from that woman. Her explosion wasn't about the cake at all, and you know it. That was about controlling you and showing dominance. She just wanted to shame Emma until she backed down, and your joke gave her an excuse to drop that mask. I don't think you caused that. You just revealed it. And now, the fallout from all of this, it really sucks, especially for your wife, but I feel like this was going to happen eventually, was it not? I think you should cut contact with her, and that's going to hurt, it's going to suck, but we all know that's the healthiest move that you guys could make in this situation. It's never going to get better. And now, onto the update. I don't know how to make an update, so I'll just post another edit here. I woke up to an overwhelming amount of replies. I didn't think this many people would see the post. I'm sorry that I couldn't reply to everyone. My wife has decided to permanently go no contact with mother-in-law and low contact with much of her extended family. The only family member who has been supportive of us so far is her older sister. She's truly a lovely person. I don't know how sister-in-law and my wife are such kind people despite being raised by monster-in-law. I understand I was wrong for making the gay cake comment and that it only served to enrage my mother-in-law, but my wife and I were talking yesterday, and she said she would have commented that the cake looked gay even if I hadn't, though it definitely would have gone over better had my wife said it instead of me. We are ultimately happy with the outcome, and that we no longer have to attend any incredibly toxic family events with mother-in-law. As a side note, my wife has told me that she never felt terribly close to her mother, so my comment about them being close before our marriage was incorrect, but that the hour-long phone calls she would have with her mother were just very one-sided conversations where her mother would rant about her day and our relationship, never asking or caring about my wife. Wifey and I have ordered our own gay cake from a lovely local bakery that is also run by lesbians, as a treat for the abuse that we have had to endure over the years, and as a toast for better, mother-in-law-free years to come. Thank you to everyone who commented and gave their insights. I'm glad this was resolved so quickly. Yesterday I was feeling awful about my own behavior during the party, especially since so many extended family members were coming forward to argue on mother-in-law's behalf. I was sad that this event caused my wife to go no contact with her mother, but ultimately, I see that it was largely mother-in-law's fault, and that my wife's extended family are a bunch of sheep. Thank you again, everyone. In the comments, Hamjin says, I think the gay cake remark was 1, hilarious, and 2, quite appropriate, given the continual needling. Best wishes to OP and her wife. Yeah, there's no reason for OP to feel bad about making the remark. I could see if everything was peaceful, and then she made that comment knowing it would cause a blow-up, but from the sounds of it, comments were already being made by mother-in-law, and OP simply made one back. The only error, so much as you can call it one, is this was clearly a trap laid by mother-in-law. Not necessarily the gay cake, though I wouldn't put that past someone like her, but that mother-in-law was pushing buttons with the hopes that something would be said back so that she could play the victim. But all in all, given that it led to them cutting her out of their lives completely, it still seems like a positive outcome. This was such a healthy and grounded response from the both of you two, OP. Sounds like that blow-up was long overdue, and it was only a matter of time. Your monster-in-law wasn't ever really close to you. She was just controlling and performative, and it felt like a forced act. Like the gay cake joke? That feels like a straw that broke the camel's back kind of moment. You know, it was never about the Iranian yogurt kind of vibes. I will say I love that you guys turned it into something positive with your gay cake celebration that you had. That's funny. That's exactly the revenge that you guys need in a situation like this. It shows that you can still make light of a bad time despite her bitterness. Thank you for bringing this wonderful story and wonderful redemption arc that you've had after all of her bullshit and control and manipulation over the years. And of course, thank you for the update. Anyway, guys, that's where I'm going to end today's episode. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.